So I want to give a few updates from the Center for Near Eastern Archaeology, and then we have 2 awards to give as well before 4:30, so in the next few minutes. Part of this, I think, will answer the question about how at least some artifacts that we have at La Sierra come here, primarily from Jordan. The rules governing different countries are really different. I think maybe Egypt was the first one to say nothing goes out. I think Jordan is maybe one of the last. They've been more generous, I think. I don't know if Israel... Right, in terms of research, for sure. So just let me say a few things here. We did just celebrate last year, the 10th anniversary of the center, and are looking forward to another 10. I can't quite say a century. This has not been a centennial celebration, but in any case, we're very pleased to be able to work here. Through the efforts and gifts and donations and the generosity of many of you in this room. So thank you. We continue to do fundraising and fundraising. Larry has certainly been a part of that from the beginning. We continue to be fairly proactive about fundraising, but my sense is, and I've told my staff this, we talk about this, that the best way to raise friends and funds is to do well what you do. And that's what we set out to do, is to do well what we do. And hopefully that's going to matter. Now, this has sprung a number of contributions, like you see here, some more artifact donations. Larry has had in his possession since the early 1970s, almost 200 artifacts, which just, 3 weeks ago, were donated to the center. So they've been in his garage, so now they will have a bit more of a viewing potential. But in any case, thank you, Larry. Harvey, thank you for your contributions. I have listed that here too. Ron Dirksen is here, right here, who is our coin man and has been extremely generous in providing us with spectacular coins. The last 3 from a year ago, from the Bar Kokhba revolt of the Jewish Bar Kokhba revolt against the Romans in 132 to 135. Spectacular coins. Thank you for those contributions. And from several others we could talk about, but in any case, these are the major ones. Some major financial donations too, including a couple of endowments. One of them that will fund the outreach of the center. Enough to basically to run our archaeology weekend in November and other outreach activities. Another endowment will actually support us in a number of different ways in terms of research. And so thank you to very generous donors for thinking of us as you are, as you have your funds and they're available to you. More library donations. Some of you, if you've been following our newsletter, know that we have received a number of large libraries as people have donated them. Some have passed away, some are still alive. One from San Diego, Tom Levy. We currently have about 130 boxes of his books, and there'll be another 40 or 50 coming. So that's massive. The library that we have here in the center, which is undergoing a serious reorganization, came primarily from Larry Garrity. We've added to that, we've reorganized it, and we are now supplementing it with more. Art history from Norma Kershaw in Orange County. A prehistory library from Brian Bird from Northern California. And then the name you see on the screen here, Burton McDonald, who passed away last fall, has donated his whole library to us too. So this is going to give us an opportunity not only to have the best books from these specialties, but to have extra books to give to students. So we are very pleased about that, and students will be as well. And I'm not going to say much about it, but we have engaged the library on campus to put all of our books on their system and do so through the Library of Congress. Okay, a couple more things here to note by way of activities and updates. We continue to collaborate with the Getty Villa. The UCLA Getty Villa Conservation Program uses artifacts from here. In fact, has looked at some from Harvey Cohen's collection. This is the best place for any artifact to go for conservation. We are so pleased with this connection. We do continue research at several sites. Tella Lemeria, I'm going to show you a map in a minute to show you where these are. We're in publication of that, worked there for 32 years, 18 different seasons. Khirbet Balua in south central Jordan, kind of just beginning to pick that up. Kent, Friedrich Nienau, Monique. I was going to say something about Sean. Last summer, I showed you that picture of him with his excavation cap, but last summer, Sean thought that he should get to more than one excavation, and so was at 3 excavations back to back to back, all in Jordan, for the space of how many years did it seem? I was sponsoring one of those, so, but in any case, that was courageous on your part. And you're not going to do 3 again? Okay, for a while. Okay. That was really fun. Khirbet Ataruz, which Chung Ho Ji in the School of Education is overseeing. And then a relatively new one, the Madaba Regional Archaeological Museum project, which I co-direct with several friends. It's an American, Italian, Jordanian project to establish a new museum in Madaba, Jordan. Research materials, we are overflowing with tons, and I mean literally, I'm not just using that metaphorically, tons, 30 to 40 tons of research material, much of which came in the last year from the University of California, San Diego, from archaeological research over 20 years at 20 different sites in southern Jordan. So this is now in our hands, and we have things to do. We have several shipping containers that we're storing them with. The museum is still coming. It's still on our radar. We're working hard to put some final pieces together. And Norman Jurgen was here a minute ago, and Larry in particular are working on that. And then I would announce that the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Bible will be the subject of our archaeology weekend in November. So if one thinks about, and this is what we've really tried to do with every archaeology discovery weekend, we invite people we feel are the best in the field. So Emmanuel Tov from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, the editor of the Dead Sea Scrolls Project, the editor. He's at the top of anybody's list. Jody Magnus from University of North Carolina is at the top of the list of people doing archaeology at Qumran. Sabel El-Zeben is the daughter, she will be doing this remotely from Jordan. She's the daughter of the army commander in the Jordanian army who discovered Cave 1 of the Dead Sea Scrolls. She's going to tell that story. We don't hear that story. So she's going to tell that story. Sidney White Crawford, who again is, in terms of the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Bible, is at the top of everybody's list of people to go to for the best and latest information. What is his name now? Yasin from New York University, another specialist on the Bible and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then the 6th one, the final one, is John J. Collins, who is the world's absolute top expert on apocalyptic literature. And so he's going to do apocalyptic literature and the Dead Sea Scrolls. So thank you for asking. Top of the line. We are very pleased about that. So you'll want to put that on your calendar. And if you've signed up on one of these sheets that have come by, you will be on our list and you'll know. And we'll send that to you. One thing that I want to do with this map, and then we do have to get to some awards. Sorry. You can see in the map on the left, the site names, actually the region names in blue, are the ancient Iron Age kingdoms that we read about in the Bible. The Ammonites in the north, the Moabites, and the Edomites. Then the red identifies sites where La Sierra University and the Center for Near Eastern Archaeology has been involved. Tel el-Ameri, the northernmost one. Beneath it is Madaba, Jordan. And then Ataruz, that's where Chung Ho Ji excavates. And then Tel Balua, which I've also mentioned. And then the research material that we've just received from the University of California, San Diego, comes from the site that's identified in red in the lower portion of the picture. It's really part of a large system. It's a wadi system, a river system called the Wadi Feinan. And that's where all of this, a number of tons of archaeological material have come from. In the past few months, I have been bold enough to talk to my friends in Jordan, Director of the Department of Antiquities, the Minister of Tourism, past directors of the Department of Antiquities, and suggesting that we have become Little Jordan. We have more research material here by far than any place else in the U.S. And the facts also are that what you see around you here, even if it's in boxes, you can see the pictures, represents probably the largest, if not close to the largest collection of artifacts from Israel, outside of the country of Israel. So we have been blessed, and we want to thank you for helping us accomplish this, but it gives us an opportunity to excel in what we do, and we hope we do that. Awards. I want to mention a couple of awards. So I'm going to do this with some slides because none of our awardees was able to be here today. But and one of them in particular is we're in a fairly touching moment for him. This is Daniel Hantman and his wife Marcia Gilman. Daniel was in the emergency room last evening and has actually been in assisted care for a short time. And so his health is not good. And Marcia was up all night, and so it's been a bit of a challenge for her to think. We actually wanted both of them to be here. We wanted you to hear Daniel and Marcia talk about what CNEA means and what going on an excavation means. So I want to show you a couple of pictures of Daniel in particular. But here they are in a train, on a train ride in the central U.S. I think they were up in Colorado. Here is Daniel Hantman as he's known and has been known for years in Riverside, wearing this sombrero. You do not have to look far to find him. You could probably spot him from an airplane. He's widely and well known. This guy has basically from childhood, always looked out for the other. His life has revolved around what he could do to help somebody else, especially somebody else who can't help himself or herself. That's been his life. He has spent time in the Peace Corps. He went for 2 years to Thailand. It ended up being 6 years. After the Peace Corps paid him. They paid him for 2 years. He stayed on. He was for 15 years part of the coalition for good, for the common, not the common good, coalition for common something. Anyway, he's been involved. He works with the mission in docents for their museum. He worked on an airport design committee, and he has been an attorney, and much of his time he spent working out how people who can't afford an attorney will be heard before a court. A terrific person. He and his wife have traveled a lot. Here they are on the left picture in front of Mount St. Helens. And if you need to know what happened at 8:32 on the morning of May 18, 1980, at Mount St. Helens, ask Kent. He lived, how many miles? 25 or 30 25 miles from Mount St. Helens. He remembers that day very well, so you can ask him about that in break time. The other picture, they are on the coast, the Pacific coast, not too far from where I live. These are two special occasions. The one on the right, he was receiving an award, again, for his work, for the generosity of his person and what he was doing to help others. But the archaeologist is seen in this picture. This is Daniel Hantman. And I don't know how long he had that beard, but he certainly had it the summer he was in Jordan working with Larry and me. And Kent, you were there too. This was in 2004. So this is the Daniel Hantman that we have come to adore. He continues to help us in different ways, and I want to illustrate that with this slide. Both Marcia and Daniel are part of the Archaeology Advisory Council here at the center. They attend always, and they always have something to say. I often sit next to Marcia, and she is always commenting about, what about if we looked at this whole problem this way? So these are people who've contributed in so many important ways, also as major donors in support of CNEA. Daniel as an excavator on the Tulalumari excavations, and if you've ever bumped into him in Riverside in the past, he is our absolutely best ambassador, most enthusiastic ambassador, who will tell anybody who ever stops to listen about going to Jordan and excavating and doing archaeology. He's a great ambassador. And so, for both of them, here is the award. I don't have it here, we'll present it to them later, but in any case, this to Daniel Hantman and Marcia Gilman, in recognition of years of faithful participation in and support for the archaeology program at La Sierra University, the Center for Near Eastern Archaeology proudly honors you with this achievement award dated today. Our second awardee is also not here. She does happen to be in an archaeologically rich place. Cancun, okay? Okay, so we're thinking Mayan. It's not really ancient Near Eastern. And Carolyn Waldron should be on the Zoom meeting, and we're going to ask her to respond to this, okay, in just a minute. Carolyn is actually a cousin of Larry Garrity, too. So the family took over the tell. And we're so glad that Carolyn came because she stayed for a number of years. You'll see which seasons in just a moment. And here's Carolyn in happy times and hard work times. She was a champion, also our nurse, and so became everybody's best friend when needed in particular. So Carolyn, we are deeply indebted to you. You and your husband Gary have been part of the way we think about archaeology here at La Sierra. You've been a member of the planning committee and the advisory council, a long-time major contributor as a volunteer and donor. And look at the seasons, 2002 through 2016. That's half of the field seasons that Tulalumari was under excavation. Half of them. Carolyn, thank you. Plus now working at Kerbet Balua and a couple other places. Carolyn is also the best friend on our team of local workers. These are workers who began in 1984. Their children came along, and we were into the third generation, and Carolyn knows them all by name from Midway. So, and actually worked with another archaeologist, Monique Radi, in creating a special project to understand their stories, to hear their stories. We call it CEPU. Carolyn, we need to thank you for that. And here is your award in recognition of years of faithful participation in and support for the archaeology program at La Sierra University. The Center for Near Eastern Archaeology proudly honors you with this achievement award dated today. Is Carolyn on? Is Carolyn, can we hear from Carolyn?
Thank you very much for this award. It's really been a privilege to be able to go on so many digs when I thought I might not survive the first one. And it's wonderful to be able to help at CNEA when I'm in Southern California too. So thank you very much.
Much appreciation to you and to Gary for all that you do for us. That concludes this presentation and some updates and some awards. We normally would have a person walk over here and we could hand that award to them. We'll not be able to do that this time, but we will document it, okay? We will make sure that that's available and it will show up in our quarterly newsletter, La Sierra Digs. I want to thank all of you for coming, those of you in person, those of you online. Appreciate very much your being here and your ongoing support of La Sierra University's Center for Near Eastern Archaeology. Please take some time to look at the display cases, and some of you will want to wander to the end of the hall and to the right, and Kent will be there to show you, to kind of immerse you into a 3D experience. And then there is the Bedouin tent. Thank you, Suha. I think I saw her go out a minute ago, and others, Audrey and others who have been helping with the refreshments in the Bedouin tent. So please enjoy, and especially alums, thank you for coming and enjoy the rest of this weekend. Thank you.